Hey everyone, welcome to another lesson. We're going to continue with our talk of pentatonics and using them over various chords. So as you remember, what we've been talking about is playing pentatonics that we wouldn't normally think to play over a certain chord. Um, this one's going to be based off major chords. And so just for example, if we have an A major chord, you know, doesn't matter if it's major 7th or major 6, major 9, whatever, just any sort of major chord, uh, you should automatically assume, yeah, using the major pentatonic over that would work. And that's absolutely true. And just for sound, one thing that I like to do sometimes is not necessarily play with a backing track, but have something ringing. So I've just got a drone playing. This is a cello drone. And all I'm going to do is just kind of listen to the scale. So this is A major pentatonic, or F sharp minor pentatonic. If you need to find the fingerings for that, you can go back into the playlist and look for that video. But this is A major pentatonic, F sharp minor pentatonic. They're the same thing. Right, it's got a great sound to it. All the notes work. There's no clashing. Right, and that's a sound that we're all kind of familiar with. But like we were talking about, what jazz musicians do is they start to use pentatonics that are related, but something that you might not normally think about. Um, so we'll kind of go in the progression of least tense, which would be that one, to more tense using these minor pentatonics. So the next one, if we start a minor pentatonic from the third of the chord, in this case, since we're in A, it'd be a C sharp. So if we play C sharp minor pentatonic, we're going to have a completely different sound over this A drone. I'll play it slowly again. Great. So what we're getting is we're getting the major third, we're getting our fifth, we're getting the 6th, 13th, we're getting the major 7th, and we're getting our 9th. Right. Right. So you can kind of hear that one's not as stable as the first one, but the notes still work. It still outlines that major chord sound that we're used to. So it could be something just to brighten up, since we have that major 7th in there. Kind of the note definitely works, but you can hear it clash when you just play those two notes together. The major 7th, that note resolve up. Right. So moving on, our next one is introducing a new chord tone that I think is very strange to people at first, especially when they're first getting into jazz, and that's the sharp 11. And so making a minor pentatonic from the major 7th of a chord, so in the case we're still in A, so if we make a minor pentatonic off G sharp, we can outline this sharp 11 sound, so it's major sharp 11. I'll play through it slowly so you hear it. There's the sharp 11. There it is again. Right. So here's those notes and relations. We have our major 7th, we have our 9th, we have our 3rd, sharp 11, and then our 6th or 13th again. Very interesting sound. And again, something that you may not just automatically assume to use, especially because if you think of the relative major, that'd be B major. You know, most of the time, you know, when I was learning these, I was like, why would you use B major pentatonic? But when you just kind of outline the notes and in relation to the key that you're in, you know, you're going to be playing those notes anyway. It's just we're outlining them using pentatonics, and with the pentatonics just having those wider intervals in it just makes a little bit more of an interesting sound rather than just playing the straight scale. So there's another one that we can play that's getting to being very outside. So if we actually play C minor pentatonic, which is having a flat 3 over the major chord, it's basically every note that isn't in an A major scale. As you know, major scales have 7 notes in them. There's a total of 12 notes, so there's 5 notes that are missing from a scale. So playing a minor 3rd away actually gives you all the notes that aren't typically in a scale. So if you have like a modal vamp or something, it's just A major forever, you can actually play these notes just to build some tension. It won't necessarily work with the drone, but what I'll do is I'll play a little bit of the major pentatonic or F sharp minor pentatonic and go into that C, just so you can hear how it sounds. So you can hear it really is very jarring. Right. So you can kind of go in and outside of the tonality, and I've used a couple of the pentatonics that went into G sharp minor there at the end to outline that Lydian sound, but you can kind of hear that inside outside type thing, and that can be a very fun thing to do, especially when you're on a modal vamp, because you start to get sick of that same sound after a while, and so does the audience. So we're moving on. So now we've got some of the altered pentatonics, and there's not a whole lot with these that I found that really work, but we'll go through them anyway. So our first one we'll talk about is the minor flat 5 pentatonic, and this one will also make a Lydian sound. And this one, what we'll do is we'll build it from that sharp 4 or flat 5, depending on how you think about it. In this case, since we're in A, it'll be an E flat note. And again, if you need to remember how to make these, just go into the playlist and look for the minor flat 5 pentatonic lesson. You'll find all 5 shapes. But just for sound, here it is. So we're starting on E flat, which is the sharp 11. Then we've got our F sharp, which is our 6th. G sharp, which is our 7th. A, which is our root. C sharp, which is our 3rd. And then back to our sharp 11. Right. is this another way of getting that sound of sharp 11 into your playing. Again, all the notes in the regular scale would be there, but it's just breaking them up in a different way that might be a little bit more interesting. Moving on, we've got the major sus pentatonic. And if you remember that one, you know, it's basically, if we take a minor pentatonic, raise the third, and raise the seventh, everything else kind of stays the same. Minor pentatonic, major sus. So this is one of those ones that seems like it's obvious. We can just use just regular A major sus pentatonic over A major chord. I actually forgot to change the note. It's a real pretty sound. Alright, so we can do that starting from the root. We can also do the same thing, but starting from the 5 of the scale. So since we're in A, it would just be E. This is one that I haven't really practiced a whole bunch, so I'm just going to switch the position. So that this gives us the sound of that sharp 11 again. So we have our 5, major 7th, root, 9th, sharp 11, 5. Right? Again, kind of a cool sound when we put it in that context. It sounds still pretty, but it sounds a little bit plain playing it from the root, playing it from the 5th, opening up that sharp 11. It's also interesting that there's no third you're playing in there, so it has this much more open sound to it. So moving on, we've got the Lydian Pentatonic, which is just like the major sus, except now we're getting rid of the 4 and raising it to sharp 4. Right? So that sound over this. Slowly. Right? So that's giving us root, third, sharp 11, 4, or 5, major 7th, root. Again, just a great Lydian sound that we can make. And then I also haven't really found another use for that Lydian pentatonic other than just starting it from the root. And same with our last one, the Lydian augmented, just starting it from the root again. But this time, since we have so many more tensions in it, it's really more of an interesting sound. Because that one, you know, we'll have A, which is the root, our major third, we'll have the sharp 4, then we've got our augmented note. So we'll have a sharp 5. So in this case, it would technically be an E sharp, but we're just going to call it F. It's inharmonically the same thing. Right, and then a major 7th, and then root again. So that sound slowly. Right? That's a really interesting sound. Alright, we got that. That's kind of natural. There's the augmented triad. Right. So hopefully that'll help out a little bit with learning how to use these pentatonics in a way. Right now, like I said, we're just kind of using it in mind of just having like a modal vamp. It's A major in this case forever. Um, and in the future, we'll learn how to use these as far as putting it into a actual chord progression so that we're learning how to make changes with these various pentatonics. But again, hope that helped, and look out for the next video, which will be looking at all of this stuff but over dominant chords, and that'll probably be broken into a couple different videos because there's so many applications for dominant chords. So I'll probably have it broken up just plain dominant chords, 11, 13, 9, stuff like that, and then another video just on altered dominants. So thanks again, and I'll catch you at the next lesson.